The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you were the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Late night bites with friends? Already hard to beat. That first too hot bite of fries you couldn't wait for, followed by ice cold Pepsi. Now that hits different. Suddenly, the energy kicks back in, the night goes longer, and the laughs don't stop. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
The new Red Bull Dragonberry Energizer is now at McDonald's. Made with freeze-dried dragon fruit. And made to lock in. The all-new Energizer, now at McDonald's.
Visible puts unlimited 5G data and hotspot in the palm of your hand. Powered by Verizon's 5G network. With no contract holding you back. And for a limited time, you can get Visible for just $19 a month for 12 months when you use promo code SAVE6. All the features of big wireless service for half the cost. Tap the banner to switch today. Terms apply. Standard rate applies at month 13. See visible.com for plan features and network management details.
Hey, all you heroes, hawks, crows, rooks, and inquisitors. Welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we unpack, discuss, and theorize about all the lore behind the Dragon Age series.
We are so excited to bring you this podcast. Every episode will be covering a different topic in the Dragon Age universe, from character deep dives to exalted marches and elven gods. We'll cover it all.
There will be spoilers, and always remember, swooping is bad.
And welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we talk about Dragon Age and its lore. I'm one of your hosts, Austin, also known as She-Cup. Teacup. I'm Teacup.
I'm Shelby, or She-Cup.
Yeah. Anyway, we're just going to leave that there. But yeah, we're here for our wonderful patron chat. And I have our lovely patrons here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll just start with the Crimson Knight.
Hey, I'm Steven, or the Crimson Knight.
We have Capricorn Tower.
That's me, Capricorn Tower.
And then we have Ambrosian.
Hello, I am Jay, or Ambrosian.
All right, yeah, thank you all for being here. We have an exciting topic today. I'm very excited about this. We did this on the Assassin's Creed Lorecast, and it was a lot of fun, and I just am imagining that the Dragon Age ones are going to be even more unhinged.
They are and they aren't. The thing about Dragon Age fans, I think, is that, like, we as a whole want to theorize and come up with all our little philosophies and things like that. Way more than the Assassin's Creed fans do. And so a lot of the Assassin's Creed ones are just like short, like, I think this. or we should have this in the game. But like a lot of the Dragon Age ones are just let me go on and on and on and on for like 10 pages. There are like a couple that I just had to be like, finally, okay, I'm going to summarize this because there's just no way that I can. There's just no way. So, anyway.
So, right. So we will kind of structure this will be a little more free form structure than we're used to. Most of the time we have a conversation and everyone gets their turn, but this is just kind of going to be a reaction. So we might have some talking over each other. We're just going to have to acknowledge that it is going to be what it is. But if you've got thoughts, just we'll make sure everyone gets to say their thoughts about each confession, but it's not going to be a real kind of formal structured thing like we are used to. All right. We have reacting to Dragon Age confessions. All right. And the first one, it was only during the lockdown that I realized Carolyn Seymour, who also versed Keeper Marathari in Dragon Age Origins. And if you are unfamiliar, that is Dr. Chakwa's same voice actor. I think I knew this, but I didn't like forefront know this. Like I saw this as
I had no idea. This was new to me. I was shooketh.
Yeah, I absolutely had no idea that they were the same voice actor.
I'm not gonna pass any judgment because I mean that's valid, especially since this isn't like a super main character that you're with all the time. You know what? They're valid. It's just like that sometimes.
yeah, and I think this comes down to like Dr. Chakwas is in every single Mass Effect game, but Keeper Marathari, you has a different voice actor in Dragon Age 2, I'm assuming. And then, but if you never went back and played every Origin in Dragon Age Origins, it's possible you never met Keeper Marathari.
I mean, functionally, DA2 and DA Origins Marathari are completely different. They have different Valenceline, different voice actresses. So,
This is still wild to me that the Chantry successfully carried out a religious purge on Ravane, and Inquisition had zero things to say on it. Is this true? Like, is it never mentioned in Inquisition?
I think there might be one throwaway line. And I think there's a codex, but like it's yeah.
Because I'm a freak, I know exactly where you find that codex entry.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nick.
It's in the second floor of the tavern in Redcliffe. If you go upstairs, the account of the Rite of Annulment in Daresmood is up there.
I love it. I love that you know that.
I feel like one, we can't blame everything on the writing, but I feel like we can blame a lot of stuff on the writing. That's probably them just kind of forgetting, but it's also not really the forefront, to be fair, because in Inquisition, obviously you're trying not to die, but you're kind of focusing on trying to save Ferelden and Orlais because that's the brunt of where most of the things are going on, at least where you are. So, I mean, it makes sense to me. Lore-wise, they definitely should have commented on it, but mechanically, don't bite me. That's rude. My cat's misbehaving. Yeah, I think they should have said something, but I'm not surprised that they didn't.
I don't know. I just kind of feel like they talk so much about what happened with Anders. You would think that they would, and the circles, you would think that they would talk about this too, because it's a direct effect.
Yeah, I just think that. So if I remember my timeline right, Kirkwall happens, then the Ravani purge happens, then the events of Asunder happen, and then we have Inquisition. And I also just think that a lot of Dragon Age Origins relies on, if you want like the full picture, they're like, well, we're assuming if you want this deep of lore, you have read Asunder and the Masked Empire.
I feel like it not getting a lot of attention in Inquisition, I can almost give it a pass. As with most things, I feel like the fact that it doesn't come up in Veilguard is crazy to me because we actually go to Ravane. But we barely do anything in Ravane, also in Veilguard, so who am I kidding?
And we
I feel
don't
like-
really we don't go to Ravane. We go
Yeah.
to the Ravani coast.
True. I feel like we only go to Ravane though because they were like, "Hey, this is probably going to be the last Dragon Age game. Let's like give them all the locations they've been asking for 2 decades."
Except for Parvalin.
Rip. Yeah.
Ravane was just our hot girl bathing suit episode.
Hot
Like
girl
it was just
summer.
it was just the beach episode. That's all Ravane really was. It's a shame that it
With
was that way,
dragons.
but yeah.
It would have been neat though to somehow like commandeer whoever led the annulment and judge them on the Inquisition throne. That would have been neat.
Or like even just like a war table thing of like, okay, this entire country hates everything because of this event. Like we need to smooth over relations. And like, I can already see it now. Liliana's like, okay, let's go and, assassinate the naysayers. Josephine's like, let's create alliance. Colin's like, let's let the Inquisition soldiers be helpful. That sums up the options of every war table operation. If you were curious,
I just use them for money. I'm like, you got to do something. Go get me some coins. That's what Colin's good for in Inquisition a lot of the time.
Just sending him to defend those caravans all the time.
Isn't he the only one? Like, if you use him in the Dalish Inquisitor, he's the option that gets the clan completely killed.
That's why we don't use him for that. It's just
Well,
good for money.
Yeah, I think that whole war table thing is so long that I think each of them has one thing that they're absolutely needed for the clan not to be wiped out.
Yes. All right. I think we're ready to move on to the next one, shall we? This is my opinion, not my teacup opinions, the writer of this opinion. But I don't think Sarah and Vivian are so disliked because of their personalities' beliefs. It's because they don't have satisfying narrative arcs. Even similar mean lady characters I've loved because the story made promises about them that it delivered on.
Oh, I've got to take Vivian's not a mean lady to begin with, but I feel like I don't feel I have a right to speak on it. But I think a lot of Vivian's misunderstandings, oftentimes it's just racism. But obviously it's not my place to speak on that. Sarah, I feel like, is also very misunderstood, but it could have also just been maybe they didn't write women well enough. Maybe they should just write women better, especially in specific characters.
I think this is a valid critique. I think they both don't really have a huge amount of change over the course of the narrative until Trespasser comes out. And that's when you get to see the more softer side of Vivienne, and you get to see Sarah, who has matured over the years and is, less piss and vinegar.
Yeah, and I think one of Inquisition's problems that comes out from this is that a lot of character development is done through companion dialogue, like party banter, if you will. Like a lot of these really deep moments happen, and I know people use Sarah a lot, but Vivian is not really a companion that people take out a lot. I do, but so I think that that's a fair point. I think that sometimes they focus on getting this number of companions, which I feel like they were we need to have 3 companions of every class for Inquisition. And when in reality they just had the companions that they planned on first, and they had those written out, and then they had to add things. And I think Vivian and Sarah are very much added on. Like I think Cole and Varric were the rogues that were intended for DAI, and I think that Solus and Dorian were the mages that were intended.
Is there a way to see like the most common used companions? Because that would affect people's perspectives on certain companions as well.
Hmm.
So if you never take Sarah out, you're never going to experience her.
I can't remember if in our survey we did that. We figured out like which companions did you use the most, but I don't remember what we did in that survey. And then I know that like BioWare released like the Mass Effect one where it had a bunch of stats about the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, but I don't think they've ever released one for Dragon Age.
No, because I don't think they have the information. Like they only have the information on the Legendary Edition because it's the Legendary Edition. Dragon Age doesn't have an equivalent. So I don't think they have that information. And I'm not sure if we asked those questions on our survey. I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think so.
I don't think we did either. And I was just basing my statement on what I've heard people say.
Yeah, and I guess bringing the certain companions with you might give me more of a bias towards Sarah because I am one of those people that took her out a lot on missions, especially with Blackwall and Iron Bull because their dynamics are always hilarious. But yeah, it is disappointing how unsatisfying their story arcs are overall.
I mean, I would couch it though, because in the reality that I think Inquisition's characters are overall really good. So it's not like they're bad characters. They're just slightly less written than the rest of the cast, in my opinion.
Yeah. I also think that like generally I don't think it's really about their personalities beliefs either. I just think like Ambrosion said, I think there's a little bit of racism with Vivian, but I also just think that at first glance Sarah is annoying.
Isn't she like 19 too? So she's
yeah.
Yeah.
I love her. And you dive into that exterior and you realize, oh, your story is actually heartbreaking. But like at the beginning, like if you're not really into that kind of manic, like crazy kind of vibe, if you're, older when you play the game, Shelby, you find Sarah annoying and not charming.
Why you gotta call me out like that?
Because it's fun.
You
It's
just
fun
called
for
me
me.
old on the podcast for everyone
I
to
said
hear.
older. There's difference. There was an ER at the end of that word.
I heard you're ancient.
Well, I can't change what you hear.
No, you can change what you say.
The romance doesn't do Sarah any good either, or at least any favors if you play an elf. So I think that also kind of adds to the issues on Sarah's side.
Can you romance her as an elf, or is it just harder?
You can. I have never actually fully romanced her, unfortunately, but I know that there is a lot of drama if you are a Dalish elf.
You basically have to renounce your whole entire religion and culture.
Unless anything else, we can move on. So this one says, Kiri in Way of the Water reminded me so much of DA2 Meryl. I have not watched the James Cameron Avatar movies or games, so I can't speak on this.
Yeah, I've only seen the first movie myself, so I can't say anything either.
I have seen it. I would say if you're trying to talk about someone that's like very connected with like their spiritual self, I guess. But the big difference would be that Kiri doesn't know what the hell is going on ever.
Does Meryl?
It's just kind of vibes. And so that's probably where they're drawing the connections. Yeah. But I would say Meryl is definitely much more experienced. But to be fair, I think Kiri's also like 13, 14 in the film. So that's a child.
I think Meryl is experienced in magic and like her culture, but I also don't think that Meryl really knows what's going on. I think Meryl has thought about like what her culture is and like why, like how things are done with the Dalish, but I don't think Meryl has ever thought about like why things happen or what are the implications of what I'm trying to do or say.
It could just be that they're comparing the alien bug eyes between the two characters.
Oh, that's also true. We all know we hate the DA2 elves design.
DA2 elf designs were interesting.
They were a hate crime. All right, and we're on the next one. For some reason, I always pictured Vivian having a little dog. She's devoted to this little dog, and it has a pretentious name, has specific dietary needs, and it's extremely devoted and protected to her as well. And when this little dog sees its mommy upset, it goes into protective mode and bites anyone who Vivian argues with. I feel like I do agree with this, but I feel like it's something much more like it's a deep stalker or something, but like not a deep stalker because that's not the vibe, but like it's something that's like small and vicious.
I would say a cat. I feel like she would be more of a cat person than a dog person because cats are to some degree, I mean, they can kind of be a little more independent because they don't need to be let out, be in the litter box, I guess. I feel like she'd be a cat person more than a dog person.
Yeah, if she has a dog, she is absolutely not the one who takes it on walks and picks up its poop. Like, that's not happening.
Mm-mm.
Have any of y'all seen Oliver and Company?
Yeah.
What automatically popped into my head is the poodle from that movie.
I feel like so Shelby's gonna might be the only one who knows this, but if you've ever seen the show All Creatures Great and Small, if Vivian has a dog, it's like there's an older woman like very very up to do in the society, and she has a little dog. Uh, Trinket, I think is his name. No, it's not Trinket. It's oh Shelby, what is it?
Crazy. It's Mrs. Pumphrey.
Yes,
It's something tricky.
Tricky. That's right. I knew it was a T.
Tricky Woo.
Yeah, Tricky Woo. Uh, yeah, and that's just one of those things like he eats people food and other things like that. Uh, that's what I feel like it is. Yeah. All right, I think we'll go to the next one, and this will be our last one before the mid break.
I was really mean with this one.
This one says, I don't want a companion slot wasted on Varric as in Inquisition. It felt cruel when I took him into the wilderness from far from his comfy desk. BioWare, let him rest. This has aged like milk.
He's in everyone's business too much to rest.
In peace.
He is resting.
In peace.
Yeah. Bianca is resting in pieces.
This is my justification for basically never using Varric in Inquisition.
Is that he needs a break? Well, no, I remember like this is a pretty common take. I remember when people were asking like for Colin to come back in DAV, and voice actor problems aside, like I remember saying like, no, let the man retire. He's done enough.
Who are you talking about?
Cullen.
Cullen. I thought you said Colin, and I was like, who the hell is that?
That's
At
what
least
happens when his voice actor becomes evil.
Yeah.
At least Cullen got to retire,
Hmm.
unlike Varric.
Varric got to be Viscount and then inexplicably was like, okay, well, I'm bored of being a Viscount, so I'm going to go back to being the main agent of the Inquisition for some reason. He was just getting used.
His secretary wasn't letting him have fun.
I said this to Shelby the other day, and I said one of my gripes now with DAV, with one of my mini gripes with the Veil Guard, is the fact that I did not get to see Cassandra Pentagast react to Varric's death and the news of Varric's death. And I'm just going to say, if Cassandra was advising the Inquisitor in this moment, there would be no save Solus option.
I mean, yeah, that's her bae.
I thought her bae was your Inquisitor.
Okay, you know what? Number one, rude. Number two,
True. All right. Well, then let's go to the middle of the show now, the mid-break.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you were the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
The perfect lunch combo. That first bite of your favorite sub, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Add a couple of friends, and now that's next level. Suddenly, the laughs get louder, the stories keep flowing, and the food tastes better. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
I've got this nefarious plan to go around to each of them and secretly tell them all the nasty things you said. That way they'll mutiny and I shall become the group leader.
You know, we have more comfortable rooms and basically infinite space, so why
does the trained assassin prefer a quiet, unassuming spot with good choke points?
Guess you just answered that question.
Besides, I'm closer to the coffee. Just wondering if the feathered pauldrons are an essential part of the moody rebel mage persona.
What are you talking about?
I'm working on an epic poem about a hopelessly romantic apostate, waging an epic struggle against forces he can't possibly defeat.
What do you mean, can't possibly defeat?
Well, it's not a good story unless the hero dies.
All right, welcome to the middle of the show where we take time to thank our patrons. Thank you so much to all of our patrons, like the ones we have here, and all of those who support us. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/DALorecast. You can also support us by leaving us ratings and reviews on Apple or Spotify. And if you leave us 5 stars and some kind words, we will read it out on a future episode of the show. And then last but not least, come hang out with us on Discord, the Cubs Podcasting and More Discord server. It's a great place to be, great place to hang out, and it's great, just great, great, great. I said great way too many times, and now I can't say a different word. So that's where we're at, and I think that's all I have for the middle of the show. So let's get in to the second half, more confessions.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire, the no-show. Who set you back because they didn't show up on day 1, or day 2, or ever again. And now your product launch is delayed because you're talking to alien abduction podcasters to track them down. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can help make sure your next hire sticks. In fact, businesses who use LinkedIn are 24% less likely to reopen a role in the next 12 months. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
The perfect lunch combo. That first bite of your favorite sub, followed by ice-cold Pepsi. Add a couple of friends, and now that's next level. Suddenly, the laughs get louder, the stories keep flowing, and the food tastes better. Because Pepsi brings out more flavor, more fun, and more of the moment. Food deserves Pepsi. Grab a Pepsi Zero Sugar today.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Hey guys, today I'm interviewing my cat about his perfect bistro food. Percy, you seem to be a big Perfect Bistro fan. Care to comment? Totally. What do you like about it? You love the high quality ingredients? And the delicious flavors, of course. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Listen to Percy, guys. Visit perfectbistro.com to try it for your cat.
My people have heard legends of the Grey Warden's strength and skill. Though I suppose not every legend is true.
That's really helpful. What are you, the elven god of sarcasm?
Lies, treachery, and rebellion, depending upon the story. And how could I help? I do not have my ritual dagger. I cannot access my network of mirrors to travel from the lighthouse to anywhere in the world. All I can offer is what I know.
Helpful advice from the elven god of, and I am quoting you here, lies, treachery, and rebellion.
Depending on the story.
You fear barbarians will swoop down upon you.
Yes, swooping is bad.
All right. This one says, I have a headcanon where elf gestation/pregnancy is longer than in humans, perhaps as a holdover from their previous immortality. I wish pregnant NPCs and babies instead of the creepy, lanky children were in the games.
So this person frequents AO3, I'm assuming. With the stake.
Probably. Listen, I'm just going to say, based on the models, those little elves are not having longer pregnancies than humans.
You're saying their bodies can't physically handle it.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't. Like, humans can't either. There's a reason that it's 9 months, 10 months sometimes. So I just thought this was interesting, and I do think the connection between like the immortality and the length of gestation is really interesting. And I mean, there are, animals, I think elephants have an almost 2-year gestation period. So like it is possible, but I think it's a really interesting, just little lore headcanon.
It is interesting, and it's an interesting take for me because so often, for a lot of reasons that are rooted in a lot of things that are not great, often races that are immortal have either a less frequency of getting pregnant or are straight up infertile.
I feel like this does raise the question that will never get answered ever again about at what point did the ancient elves stop creating themselves out of lyrium and just go full bio? Like, what was that process like? Did they just see like species of animal in the material world and they were like, actually, let's create our bodies like that?
If anything, I feel like sure with the ancient elves it would make sense for it to be longer, but it would make sense for it to be about the same as humans with the modern elves, because obviously they say all of the cool things that the ancient elves had, like immortality, are gone now. That's kind of why in my head I always see the ancient elves as like slightly bigger, because Solus is said to be decently tall for an elf, and most of the elves that we see throughout the games are right around 5'5", unless they're considered to be like an outlier, where they're taller. Like I think Fenris is also noted to be slightly tall for an elf. And obviously Elgradon and Gillinan completely blow the standard out of the water because they're different. But I'd say ancient elves it would make sense, but not current elves.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. Let's move on. This says, the only thing I want Baldur's Gate 3 to influence in Dragon Age is the hair options. I actually, hot take, I didn't want Dragon Age to be influenced by Baldur's Gate 3 at all.
Not even the hairs?
No. I think that the hair in the Veilguard is better than Baldur's Gate.
No, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the point, is that like the Veilguard came after Baldur's Gate technically, so, but I doubt that really had any influence ultimately on their character creation design. But yeah, the hair options are in fact better in Veilguard.
I find Baldur's Gate, this might be a hot take, but I find Baldur's Gate's character creator very limiting.
I do as well. I didn't like the fact that you can't control the faces, but I would say I can tell that this person does not rock with the, solid like 4 options that you have in some of the older games. Like you have the bob, you have Flemeth's hair, you can be bald, and then you can maybe put it in a ponytail. Unless you want to do the really flat braided buns.
Right.
So when in doubt, just go bald.
Yeah, I do think that like video games have come a far way of like giving hair actual volume. And that has been a really nice thing.
No, I definitely, yeah. Veilguard's character creator is like the one thing where I'm like, gosh, I wish all games had this, because you can even like make your character a little bit chunkier, like instead of just ripped all the time, like in Baldur's Gate 3. So I don't know. Strides in some places, massive step backward in others.
Yes. All right, let's go on to the next one. The DAI companions were a huge letdown. Loved Dorian and Varric, even though Dorian's personal quest was out of left field and felt preachy. Enjoyed Blackwall, loved his beard and hair. Bull was boring and bland. I wish that Kolkashins was here for this confession. Because he would be screaming.
Who is this absolute just chud straight man opinion coming from? Like,
I do play games with my eyes closed and my ears covered.
I just was so appalled and shocked and in fearful awe that I was like, I have to include this. Like, I have to hear everyone else's reactions. Like, I truly cannot believe someone actually thinks this.
Yeah, this is written by the person who, their relative, maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's a cousin, comes out as gay, and they're like, we had no idea. It was not like there were no signs. And then you see old pictures of like the most flamboyant child that has ever existed in the world. Like that's the kind of person that wrote this, who thinks Dorian's side quest came out of left field.
I said it in the little chat too, but this is very similar to takes that I see from people online who say, "Oh, DA went woke and went broke." It's always been.
It's always been woke.
He played the first game, but Zephyr's not straight. And he's not even the only example. He's just in your face about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a take. I'm not saying it's a good one, but it's a take.
Could it be that Blackwall materialized and wrote this opinion himself? Because I mean, he's definitely the kind of person who would be like, okay, Dorian, I love you, but you can't be quote unquote shoving it down my throat all the time.
No, I don't agree, because he's like besties with Sarah. And I just don't feel like Sarah would be friends with someone that would do that or say that,
I mean, the gay men and the lesbians are not always on the same side of things.
No, that's very true. That is very true. But I just don't think that Sarah... I don't know.
No, I agree. I feel like Dorian and Sarah get along very well, and she's throwing hands for anyone. Like, if she met Hallward Pavis, she would fucking kill him.
She would light his boots on fire. Like,
And steal his britches. This person did not ride the bull. Unfortunate for them.
I also just like, even if you don't engage in Bull's story or bring him out in like a companion, like some of his early stuff, like when he walks up and he's just like, yeah, Cassandra, just continually hit me. And like, let's go. Like, how can you think that's boring and bland? I don't know. I don't think any of the DAI companions are boring and bland.
Like, I think even excluding his romance and everything, Bull is one of the most interesting characters because of his story.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like the only one who can actively betray you in the Trespasser DLC.
Also, like I have a feeling that this person did not play DA2 because like, but they loved Varric, so maybe. But my biggest attraction to Bull was, oh shit, like these were the bad guys from DA2. Like I spent so much time fighting the bad guys that are part of the Qun, and oh, we get one that's our companion. And this is important note that like I did not recruit Sten until after I played DA2 because I didn't stay long in Lothering. I also didn't get Liliana. You know, these are just every time I say this, Shelby is shocked, even though
I
she
mean,
knows
every
all this.
time I hear it, I'm like, how?
How? It's mind-boggling. You literally like had to walk past both of them multiple times and just ignore.
I have evolved as a gamer, but I was notorious for like I did not do side quests. Like there were several like KOTOR side quests that I didn't do until I was like a bigger, like more of an adult, like a decade later.
I mean, I can sympathize with that because the first time I played Mass Effect, like it was just all main story. And it wasn't until my second playthrough that I realized that these kind of games had side side quests.
Oh, I wonder if it would work in a future Dragon Age to take Larian's approach to main protagonists, where any major party member can fill the role, like in Divinity or Baldur's Gate 3. This is an interesting take.
It depends. It really depends on the setting of the game. So I'm not. 'Cause I mean, I've played both of those other two games, and I see where they're coming from, but it would really heavily depend on what the point of the game is. Like, who is the villain? What's the quest here? Main quest? What are we doing? That would determine whether or not it could be anyone.
I also just think that like people do this, but like, and there are significant changes, but there's not from a narrative point of like what happens in the story. Who, if you play a Tav, if you play a Dark Urge, or you play an Origin character, it does not really change the story of Baldur's Gate 3 that much. Whereas in the past with Dragon Age, especially Dragon Age Origins, how you decide your character starts affects a major part of the game.
I feel like the Veilguard could have gone this route and would have been fine because I think Rook just does not have a very strong connection to the plot at all. Whether or not it would be better, I don't really know, but that's the only context where I think that this would work in like present games.
Especially since each companion is linked to one of the main factions. So like this would give an option to do that, and then you could make a Rook if you wanted to. But
Yeah, it's just hard to see it working out especially if they make a future Dragon Age game. It's hard to picture it working out if they tried it.
right. And I get the point of like, so like Larian has a long history of do this. So like when people go into their games, they're expecting this kind of steps. Like you can make your own character, but you can also play an origin character and it's going to be a robust story either way. Whereas with Dragon Age, I think they would have gotten a lot of pushback if it was like, oh, you can play as a set character or you can create your own character.
I think that's definitely true because I remember like back in like the rumor days of DA4, there was like they might end up going back to just a human main character, and I was like, they better not fucking do that because I want to play as a Kunari. Like, let me have horns.
Yes, yes.
This says, sometimes it does annoy me because, like, the Chantry is an ancient continent-spanning institution made of people from all walks of life, and I think it deserves a more nuanced take than what some of the fandom has. All the awful stuff people see in it is real, but it's also more than that. I think that this is a fair take. I think the Chantry is nuanced, and I think if you look at the game in it presents that way. Um, but it's one of those things of you have to engage with it. So if you are immediately turned off from it and don't engage with it, you're gonna take the, oh, it's just evil religion and screw the Chantry.
A lot of the animosity towards the Chantry comes from people's animosity towards the Templars, which I think is 100% justified. And since those two organizations are so wrapped up in each other, it like bleeds through. But I would agree that the Chantry on its own is a complex and in some ways much more progressive institution than our real world religions. So most of my like problems with the Chantry come from the fact that the Templars are cops.
Yeah, well, and I get into this a lot of times where people talk about, like, in our real world, not to get to that, like, oh, we're not like those Christians. We're different. We're better. We're more progressive in things. And I want to say, like, no, we have to acknowledge that, like, we are members of an institution that has hurt people, and that these people, we might say, no, we're not like them, but the people that we're saying we're not like are still Christians and still identify as Christians. And we have to acknowledge that people are going to associate us with them because of that. And I think that is really where the Chantry is and the Templars. Like, you can't separate the Templars from the Chantry because they are a part of the Chantry, and their behavior derives directly from Chantry doctrine. And so I think that that's really where it gets. But I do think that, like, the Chantry does deserve a little more nuance in that take, and I think that the way that Dragon Age Inquisition did the Templars and their subplot, I think was really, really good. I think most people chose the mages because of DA2, myself included.
Yeah, I do.
Most, but a lot for sure.
Like, I do wonder if it would be a little bit more well received if it was a less centralized institution. Like, if we got to see more of a difference between how the Chantry is in different countries. Like, if we're going like strictly on Orlais, their version of the Chantry makes me ill because of how racist they are towards elves. But I feel like Ferelden, even though they do have elf racism, it is just a more equitable society in general. So I feel like their Chantry would reflect that.
Well, and it's really important into here, and I think that this is where it kind of goes into, is that, like, in Orlais, like, the Chantry and the political landscape of Orlais are so much intertwined that it is in Ferelden. Because the Chantry is almost in this aspect of, like, they are a powerful force, but they are not really a political force like the way they are in Orlais. Like, no Ferelden king or noble is going to want to really piss off the Chantry, but it's not the same as, like, the Grand Cleric in Denerim was not having, weekly meetings with the King of Ferelden or Queen of Ferelden, whereas the Divine and the Emperor of Orlais have a lot of meetings.
To be fair, I think this person is also giving the fandom way too much credit in terms of brain cell. And this isn't just the Dragon Age fandom, this is literally any fandom, anyone who has interacted with fandom. There is no logic involved with a large majority of the fandom. It's just dogpile on who everybody hates. Which I think it would be nice for us to see more of the good that the chantry does for specific people. So like why do you follow the chantry specifically? What does that bring you? Does it bring you peace in terms of knowing what happens when you die or knowing what to do when there's a problem? Because we do see characters throughout the series turn to the chantry in times of need because that's what they believe. But we also pretty much just see all of the really awful stuff that the chantry does, and so it doesn't really help offset the good that it does for specific people who are really tied into it. Also coming from like an indigenous standpoint, one problem some people could have with the chantry as well is when you follow the chantry, are you also engaging in other parts of your culture and your family's beliefs, or are you only adhering to what the chantry tells you is correct? Because we do see that with a lot of the elves who, believe in the chantry. They're very indoctrinated, which is kind of the point. But it would be nice to see people who can separate their belief and their involvement in the chantry with their other things that they do and that they enjoy.
Yeah. I also think it comes down to like people have like they make grandiose takes about the chantry, but then when you start bringing up individuals, like you start bringing up Cassandra or Cullen or Liliana even, or even someone who's pretty well beloved, which is Brother Genetivi, who are all members of the chantry. Some of them very high-ranking members of the chantry. And I think it's important, sometimes people do forget this, and the nuance is that these circles are part of the chantry. Like that is, and I think that's part of it, but like not all of the circles are these just complete oppressive institutions. Like we get a bad rap in Origins, but really from everything we hear of the Ferelden Circle, it's not a bad place to live.
I think it also doesn't help people's opinion on the chantry when the game that we spend the most time around the chantry and aspects of the chantry is Dragon Age 2, where you have a very corrupt circle with a leader that thinks everybody's a blood mage, and then everything just keeps getting worse and worse over the course of the game.
A leader who thinks everyone is a blood mage and then is given tons of evidence that everyone is a blood mage. Is so afraid that everyone is a blood mage, oppresses them and pushes them so much that everyone becomes a blood mage.
I was going to say that I do think it speaks to how well done the religious treatment is in Dragon Age, that we're able to have these sort of like different perspectives and feelings about it, because that's definitely not true for every single piece of media. Like I know with JRPGs, church bad is a very common trope, and it is usually pretty just egregious, but there is complexity in Dragon Age and with the Chantry and how it's portrayed. And I really appreciate it. It's one of the things that sets Thedas apart as a setting.
Yeah, and I think that that's like we need to move on to the next question, but that's like the D&D kind of influence of like you really can make a character in your own headcanon that's has whatever attitude you want. They can be indifferent to the Chantry, they can be super loving of the Chantry, they can be hostile to the Chantry. Just like in any D&D world, you can make a character who hates the gods, who loves the gods, who thinks the gods are stupid and not real, even though they appear right in front of you.
I feel like Austin's subtweeting me right now with his D&D campaign.
What do you mean?
Let's just do one more really quickly, and then we can kind of go around and do our little shout outs because we are at time right now. And I want to read this one just because I thought it was so cute. It says, my great grandma likes to watch me play video games, and whenever I play and talk with her about my current playthrough, she always calls Soul of Ellen slovenly. which makes me laugh. And she calls Dorian Darren. I love this so much.
I'm not going to go play Inquisition and make a mage named Darren.
I think Darren and Vivian would approve of calling anything to do with Solus slovenly based on his clothing. So
yes, very much so. Which, like, I like this. So this is my last thing with Solus. Like, they like tease him so much about his clothing, and then in the next two instances that we see him, Trespasser and the Veilguard, he's got such a good fit. All right. Well, thank you all for this. We're just going to go around. We'll go in reverse order. So we'll start with Ambrosia, and you can tell us where to find you, anything you got going on that you want to plug.
Mostly find me on the Discord. I am no longer working the Ren Fair as it is over, but just find me on Discord as Inversion.
And then we have Capricorn Tower.
That's me. I'm on the Discord as well.
And then the Crimson Knight.
Hey, I'm Stephen North, Crimson Knight, and I'm just on Discord.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all. Thank you for your takes. And for all of you slovenly people out there, thank you so much for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. If you have any lore questions, topics to cover, or side character suggestions, join the Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet.
You can also support the podcast financially and ensure its continuation by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/DALorecast. If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review or comment, or join the Patreon.
The Dragon Age Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Podcasting Network. If you enjoyed our intro or outro music, give a big shout out to Pipeman Studios. Until next time, look to the sky, the dawn will come.
NFL football season is here, which means when you switch to Verizon, it feels like touchdown, because you get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube on us when you buy an eligible 5G phone on select unlimited plans, which means you can watch every out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon, and it's all on us. Now that's the Verizon way to kick off the NFL football season right. Switch and get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube on us, only with Verizon.
This episode is brought to you by ChatGPT. Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. Have you guys heard about ChatGPT work? It's the new way to use ChatGPT for bigger multi-step projects. And when you need more than just answers, give ChatGPT work access to your apps and files, and it can create real work documents like spreadsheets, slides, and structured reports. Get started at chatgpt.com by selecting work mode, available on Plus and Pro plans.
I see you. Avatar: Fire and Ash is now streaming on Disney+. It's the film critics are calling the best Avatar yet.
Go, 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 go!
A true epic and completely jaw-dropping.
This is the only pure thing in this world.
Return to Pandora on Disney+.
It will be an adventure for the whole family.
And watch the Oscar-winning phenomenon at home.
This is sick!
Avatar: Fire and Ash, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
At ZocDoc, we know being a healthy adult is like living in a video game. Every day has side quests, taxes, laundry, birthdays. And just when you're leveling up, you have to book a doctor. The insurance portal crashes. They put you on hold. Your doctor doesn't take your plan. Game over. We see you. So we made booking a doctor easy. Download ZocDoc. Search by specialty, insurance, and availability. Book instantly. No cheat codes required. Find a doctor you love with ZocDoc.
The right window treatments change everything: your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 five-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off site-wide, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.